The meeting tonight will cover two projects in the Georgetown area by DC Water. One of them is the CSO 2526 sewer separation project, and the other is the Potomac River Tunnel advanced utility construction project. First, before we begin, I'd like to introduce to you some of the folks who will, from our side, from DC Water and the contractors who will be participating in today's call and helping to answer some of the questions and give you some of the insights and details of what's going on. First, I'd like to ask Gary Brennan to introduce himself. Gary.
Good evening, everyone. Again, as Andy said, my name is Gary Brennan. I'm a program manager for DC Water and predominantly on the CSO 2526 sewer separation project that's currently going on in Georgetown in the areas of 31st Street, South Street, the southern end of Wisconsin Avenue, and a little bit on K Street there. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Gary. Next, why don't we continue with that project? Michael Johnson, please.
Yep, thank you. Mike Johnson with Anchor Construction. I'm the senior project manager for this project.
Thank you, Mike. And I see that Non-Com is also on. Nan, would you like to introduce yourself with the project?
Yep. Good evening. I'm with Anchor Construction. On the construction contractor side. I'm also with CSO 2526 project in Georgetown.
Thank you. Now we're, I think, I'm not sure if we have anyone else from CSO because I see some people CSO 2526 on the phone, but I will go over to the PRT-A, which we call the Potomac River Tunnel Advanced Utility Construction Project. I saw John Beasley. John, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening. I'm John Beasley. I'm a program manager for DC Water. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Let's see. We'll introduce Raisha Quarry, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name is Raisha Quarry. My teammate and I provide extra outreach for both projects.
And I'd also like to introduce or have himself introduce him, Matt Wolniak, please, and tell him what you do on the project.
Hey, welcome, everybody. Good evening. I'm Matt Wolniak, and I help DC Water from a traffic, pedestrian, and bicycle standpoint.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the contractor side or from the DC Water side that I fail to recognize at this time? Just join in and introduce yourself. So I know we have some people on the phone. Anyone? All right, well, let's begin. I want to tell you who I am. I'm Andy Galley, and I am the outreach coordinator. I work with DC Water, and I am presently working on both of these projects. The PRT, we'll call it PRT-A, which will be for the the Potomac River Tunnel Advanced Utility Construction. So we don't have to say all of that. We'll just say PRT-A, and then the CSO 2526 sewer separation. So let's begin with our presentation. And if folks could, well, we'll go over some ways we can. Okay, so there's the first slide. As we are been doing these Zoom meetings and these public meetings through the internet, we know that sometimes there are limitations to our internet at home and sometimes wherever we live. So if for some reason your computer freezes up, please close down and come back on as soon as you can, and we will hopefully still be here. You may, if you would like, turn on your video, especially when you would ask a question. Right now, we ask also that you stay muted so that we don't hear any background noise or we have any disruptions. All your questions are going to be answered at the end of the presentation. So if you can, please hold your questions, scribble them down, write them down somewhere, and hold them till the end of the presentation so we can go through the presentation and then ask those questions. Online participants, please send your questions through the chat mode or by raising your hand at the end of the presentation, and we'll either recognize you to read your question or we will read your question for you if you cannot unmute yourself. Phone participants, please press the 9 to alert us if you have questions, and we will get to those also. Thank you. I'll take a look at the agenda here. So we'll just briefly touch on the project background. There have been some presentations throughout the, I think, 2 years in the community. So some of you may know some of the project. There's also been a lot of notices been sent out. There's been articles done about the different projects. So hopefully you'll know some of the background. This won't all be new. If it is, welcome. But we'll go through the project background. We'll give you a little bit of information about the status of the project, where we are, the construction schedule for the project, each project. We'll talk very briefly about control methods, Potomac River control methods. Then we will go into the 2 projects. We'll go into sewer separation, look at the overview of 25 and 26 sewer separation project. And then we'll go to the construction sites themselves, tell you a little bit about what's going on in the construction site. And just as important, the MOT, the maintenance of traffic and how you can move safely around the traffic site. We'll do that for both CSO 2526, and then as you can see, we'll do it for Potomac River. We'll then touch on the Potomac River Tunnel overall, and then move into the Potomac River Tunnel Advanced Utility Construction, PRT-A, and explain to you how that work being done now is to support the Potomac River Tunnel. There are 2 construction areas being worked on in Georgetown area. Call them CSO 24 and CSO 27. Finally, you get to questions and answers, and then you'll see a slide for our contact information. So if you want to contact us, if you're not already on our mailing list, please contact us and get on it so you can get those emails on notice of construction, when things are going on. And also, you can always call us and ask us any questions at any time. Thank you. All right, so a little bit about the background. The project is to control the combined sewer overflows into the Potomac River, the Anacostia River, and also into Rock Creek Park, or Rock Creek, which is in Rock Creek Park, and to relieve flooding in the northeast boundary area. Okay. A few years ago, came together, DC Water, Environmental EPA, Department of Justice, District of Columbia, and hammered out a agreement, consent decree that we would improve the waters of those rivers we just discussed. We hope that these improvements, well, we know that these improvements are going to be in operation and in place, all of them, by 2030. Some of them are already in operation, and we'll see the good work that they're doing. There's a map of the District of Columbia, and where we are working, where the projects are happening. I want to move you down to the purple line there, which is the Blue Plains and Anacostia River tunnels. Those tunnels are already in commission and working. The next one I want to move you up to is the orange one, which is a northeast boundary tunnel, which will catch the flooding in that northeast area through Bloomingdale and other areas, Rhode Island Avenue, and other areas of the city that are low points that get very flooded when it rains and where water and other things overflow. And then right off that northeast boundary tunnel is a small tunnel that called the First Street Tunnel. The northeast boundary tunnel, the orange one, is to be completed in 2023. And the First Street Tunnel is going to be connected in the next year also. So that will flow into the northeast boundary tunnel, which will flow down to the Anacostia River tunnels and down to Blue Plains, where all the water will be treated. Well, that water that's captured will be treated and then released. Now, tonight, we're going to be focusing a little bit in the area of the yellow tunnel, the future Potomac River tunnel. The work on the Potomac River tunnel, as you'll see in the schedule, is scheduled for late 2023 and completing in 2030. Also, up the top of the tunnel, you can see the orange dot, and that's our CSO 2526 sewer separation. Other areas to be mindful of that will help with combined sewer overflows is the green infrastructure in the Rock Creek Park area, and also the Potomac River project. If you look to the left of where the map is, you can see that from March 2018 to August 2022, we've cut 14.3 billion gallons of wastewater, combined sewer overflow water, and over 8,729 tons of trash. The tunnel is pushing past expectations, which were about 90% more or less. It's actually pushed to about 92 around in that on average. So it's very successful program so far. And when the tunnels are complete, it'll be even more successful from keeping waste from the Potomac, the Anacostia rivers, and flooding in the communities. So let's take a look at this chart here. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a timeline bar chart of the work that's going on and the schedule of the work that's going on. The first project you can see on the top is Combined Sewer Overflow Project 2526. The locations of construction for that project were South Street, 31st Street, Wisconsin Avenue and K Street, and Water Street. The top bars on the bar chart is for the project's coordination with the community. We are constantly sending out, as some of you know, notices and alerts of work that's going on in the area. And then like tonight, you can see that we are having an outreach event, and we'll have another outreach event either at the end of the year, holidays permitting, or in the first month of the next year to give you new updates on the project. Let's take a look just at CSO 2526 bar chart. South Street and 31st Street are complete with their construction. Wisconsin Avenue and K Street will be complete at the end of November, about the beginning of December, probably more the end of November. And then Water Street is about to begin. It's already began with its setting up of the MOT, which you'll see later, and will end in February. All the areas will be completely finished with new street pavement in April. So all of them, we're waiting to complete all the construction, and then we'll go back to South Street, go back to 31st Street, go back to Wisconsin, and then by April, Water Street also will all be paved with new pavement, and we'll have all new roads.
Just,
For the
Andy, this
Go
is
ahead.
Gary. Just real
Yeah.
quick, there is a possibility that with good weather, this fall into early winter, the paving might be done. Paving is temperature dependent, and if it gets too cold, they cannot get the compaction that they need for the asphalt. So that's why we're cautiously saying paving next spring. But there's a potential that with good weather, we could still get it paved before Christmas. But we'll have to wait and see.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Now we'll take a look at the Potomac River Tunnel, which we mentioned in preparation for the tunnel work itself that starts in late 2023 and will go to 2030. We're doing the Potomac River Tunnel construction project. I'm sorry, advanced utility construction project at CSO 24 and CSO 27. 24 has begun already, and we anticipate completion of CSO 24 in December. CSO 27 will begin in November soon, and we expect that completion to be in January of 23. Let's take a look at the overall map of the location of both projects right now. The blue circles, as you can see, say 25, 26. That orange area is the area that kind of contributes to the major flooding in that area, and which 24 and 26 capture or release out into the Potomac. Those are the areas for the sewer separation, CSO 25-26 sewer separation project. The black areas, as you can see, are the locations of 24, 27, and I also one that I haven't spoken about yet, 28, are part of the Potomac River Tunnel advanced utility construction work, which is being done now, 24 and 27. 28, as far as PRT-A is concerned, has been completed. There's also, as you can see up the road, which can be considered and is considered Georgetown, is Georgetown University. And that is not really in a public area per se, where residents will be impacted. It is on the university grounds, and we are working with the university to work in that area and get that construction completed. And that'll probably start in a later date, but it is an area that we won't really discuss because you will not be impacted as residents of Georgetown by that area. Along the river, as you look lower in the map, you can see some other CSOs, 20, 21, 22, and those are all going to be addressed when we work on the Potomac River Tunnel itself. They once again will not impact the neighborhoods and residents of Georgetown. So let's move into CSO 25-26 and just touch on a little bit about combined sewer overflow and the separation. I think this is a pretty good graphic, simple enough to have folks understand of what happens. You can understand you can see in the top photo both water and waste coming from homes, and water and waste from streets and buildings running into a same sewer. Because of the age of the city of Washington, D.C., we have an old, smaller sewer system that today is not able to catch the amount of runoff that it did 100 years ago. So something needs to be done. So this project is one of the things that should relieve all of this combined sewer overflow. So in the graphic below, you see what they're doing there. We will separate that runoff into a storm sewer and a new sanitary sewer that will run down to Blue Plains, both run down to Blue Plains and be treated. So no longer will you have that mixing that when there's a major storm, it rises up, pushes over its protective barrier, the waste and water into the river. That'll all be captured. This is the overview again, part of that yellow area that we saw on one of the last maps. The catch area, the drainage area, and in the purple you can see where the CSOs, the construction work is being done right now for the CSOs 2526, 31st Street, Wisconsin Avenue, and up a little ways, Water Street. All right, we're going to get into some of the construction areas now. The first one we're going to touch on is Water Street and the approximate construction period. Now, remember, all of these schedules are a little bit, on approximate, sometimes with the weather and other things that may happen on the construction site. We may find things in the ground that were not expected to be there. These dates could move a little bit, but right now the approximate construction period for Water Street is mid-October to February 2023. So I think we have Mike Johnson, who's going to talk a little bit, just tell you what we're doing over there at Water Street.
Yep. Thanks, Andy. Yeah. So down on Water Street, we've been working with the DC Water team. This is a rehab to an existing structure. We're going to make it a little bit larger. We're going to be excavating probably 12 to 13 feet deep on the north side of Water Street, right there at Potomac Street and Water Street intersection. So we do have some travel lanes that are impacted. We're going to be working to temporarily shift those lanes to get the traffic around and also detour pedestrians around the sidewalk. But we'll have a permanent construction set up with concrete barricades, some fencing, lots of signs. There should be, no reason why anyone comes into the work area. We're going to have that thing secured pretty well, so that people can get around us, go about their day-to-day activities, and we'll do our best to get in and out as quickly as possible.
Thanks, Michael. And now Matt Wolny, I was just going to go over some of those things that Mike just mentioned, the modifications to the road to protect our travelers. Go ahead, Matt, please.
Okay, thank you, Andy. As you can see, if you've happened to been down Water Street, work started to begin in that area. And what that involves, first of all, is just we have to move some things over. We're going to be removing the parking stops, sort of moving the travel lanes actually into what is now the bike lane and near the bike lane, and restriping the roadway through this area. But once everything is all set up, what will happen is between basically 9:30 and 3:30, what will happen is we'll have one lane each direction, but as you approach Potomac, between Potomac and 33rd Street, there will be flaggers, both eastbound and westbound on Water Street, and they will help traffic get through the area. But right at the job site, there will only be one lane in 2 lanes, one direction, and alternating through the use of flaggers. Now, what's also influenced is the pedestrians, bicyclists, and parking in this area. The pedestrians will not be able to use the north sidewalk between Potomac Street and 33rd Street, and will be directed to the south sidewalk or the crosswalks on either side at those intersections. Parking restrictions will also take place, and that will take place from west of Cecil Place all the way down to 33rd Street. On both sides of the roadway, parking will not be allowed. And finally, what's very critical in the area is the existing bike lanes. The bike lanes along Water Street will be detoured into the park, between 34th Street and Cecil Place through this, through the duration of construction here. So next slide, Andy.
Sure.
Okay, now what's a little bit different at this site than most of the other sites you've seen is that, as I mentioned earlier, the big change is when not between the hours of 3:30 p.m. and 9:30 a.m., or when you'll see that traffic is going to have, there's going to be one lane open each direction. So if you happen to be down in this area in the off-peak hours when we're not closing things and flaggers will not be here, we will have one lane each direction on the weekends or such so that people can go through. There won't be any work stoppage through this area. All the other things, though, will remain in place. The parking restrictions along Water Street between Cecil and 33rd, the closure of the north sidewalk between 33rd and Potomac, and then also the bike detour along the section of roadway between those two down to 34th Street. Okay. Andy, next slide, please.
Okay, so
but-
well, let's have Michael explain the phase 8. So Michael has already explained some of the work that's going on up at Water Street, but there's also some work that is going on down at the corner of Wisconsin Avenue and K Street. Both of these, for a brief time, will be work will be done simultaneously or for a brief period of time. Approximate construction period for phase 8 completion is in December. Michael, do you want to explain a little bit about what's going on there?
Yep, Andy. So if you've been in the area, which most of you have, you know that we recently were on the east side of Wisconsin, and we've as of a few weeks ago, we have now switched over to the west side of Wisconsin. This is all in correlation with the slide we saw earlier, separating the combined sewer and storm, getting the sewer into the sewer and the storm into the storm, to limit the impact to the river. So we're working on the west side of Water and Wisconsin Street there, to add an additional access point onto the large sewer main that's 48 inches in diameter. So I think we've got, a little bit more time there, but there is some travel lane restrictions and some pedestrian restrictions there, but I think we've got everything set up good right now and in place that people have been actively moving around our work site, cars and pedestrians.
Thank you, Michael. And for those folks who frequent or eat at Mr. Smith's, you still have access to the outdoor streetery, so you can still sit outside if there are any more warm afternoons and have something to eat there. Matt, why don't you come in and tell them a little bit about the maintenance of traffic in that area? Thank you.
Okay. So as Michael mentioned, if you've been down in the area, you pretty much see that it's not going to change the work zone. It's set up such that there's one lane in each direction along K Street and Water Street throughout this whole area. Wisconsin Avenue is opened up again to one lane each direction. And the pedestrian detours basically are the west crosswalk at Wisconsin Avenue is closed down. So then please be careful and please utilize the east crosswalk and the north crosswalk to get around the work area and go down and then head down to Cecil Place along that area. A small section of sidewalk is also closed right near Mr. Smith's there. And then, as I mentioned earlier about the other sites, about where the sidewalk is closed along the north side between Potomac and 33rd. Parking restrictions are they're just a small section of parking restrictions, both to the east of Wisconsin on the south side and to the west of Wisconsin on the north side at this time, besides the additional restrictions that will take place down near structure 44. Now the bicycle detour, while this is going on during the period from October to December through December, there is a longer bicycle detour. Anybody who's going eastbound on a bicycle will be directed to go to utilize the waterfront park down at 34th Street and continue all the way down to past Wisconsin down to Thomas Jefferson in that area. And then going westbound, bicyclists will be allowed to continue on the road until they get to through this area, and then through through this area, they'll cut over here at Wisconsin and continue all the way down to 34th Street. So I should say 31st Street is the eastbound bicycle detour. So that's the way bicyclists, it'll be a little longer detour than when both sections are combined.
Yeah, and as people can see, the detour isn't a roundabout in any other streets. It's just mainly going into the park, which runs parallel to the bike lane. So it's not a detour there where they have to go out of their way. So I think it's a pretty useful detour. Thanks, Matt. Okay, let's so that's the work sites at the CSO 2526 presently and how they will proceed. I want to look a little bit at the Potomac River Tunnel, because the next project sites that we'll look at, they are in support of the future Potomac River Tunnel. The map here in front of you, you can see the area in blue is the future Potomac River Tunnel. If you look all the way to your right, you can see it cut into the other, the white area there. That's where it will cut into the Anacostia River Tunnel and then flow down to White Plains, where all the wastewater from the combined sewer overflows and the new tunnel will be treated. The areas which of concern in the tunnel or impact the Georgetown residents are as we already mentioned, CSO 24, CSO 27, and CSO 28, which you can see along the map. How is it different from the work that we're doing now? This work in the future? Let's take a look. What we're building. This is what is being built in areas of the city: Northeast Boundary Tunnel, the Anacostia Tunnel, which is already complete. You can see the homes and you can see the rainwater coming down, and the new structures that will be produced to catch that rainwater and transport it down to Blue Plains. An estimated of 654 million gallons enter the Potomac River currently, and we're expected to catch 96% of that by volume. Those old pipes that ran wastewater out into the river will now be turned and run them into the approach channels, the drop shaft, the adit, which will come down from the street and across into the large tunnel and run down to the Blue Plains wastewater treatment plant. So that's what we will be building when tunnel work starts at the end of 2023, 2024 till 2030. Those large structures, many of those are almost completed in the Northeast Boundary Tunnel area, which will be completed in 2023. Let's look at the schedule for PRT-A and PRT-B. We expect to be complete with PRT-A, which is in May of 2023. A little bit about PRT-A. What that is advanced utility construction. In order to do the work and to have those facilities that we just looked at run and work properly, there needs to be electric power brought to those areas. So currently, PRT-A is bringing electric power to the areas where the PRT-B construction sites and the diversion shaft, etc., will eventually be. As you can see below in the bar chart below, PRT-B tunnel system will begin the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024 and move and be put into service, full service in 2030. Now we'll move to some of the sites. This is the CSO 024. As this is eventually what the work needs to be done and where the power needs to be brought. We expect it to go from, it had already begun in late September. We expect it to be complete in December. So as you can see also in the bottom of that map there, this is a view of K Street with Whitehurst Freeway removed. So work is being done below Whitehurst Freeway and along 30th Street. So let's see. We're currently on CSO 24, and the construction period, as we said, is September to early November. I'm sorry, on this phase, there will be 4 phases at CSO 24. We'll go over the first 2 phases today, and then we will have another meeting in the future. And by that time, we will be at the last 2 phases of CSO 24. I'm not too sure if John Beasley can help with what is being done over at CSO 24. You still on, John?
Yeah, I'm here. Currently, they're finishing up in 30th Street, which is highlighted there in yellow with the duct bank, and they should be done there shortly. But then they'll be moving right into K Street at the intersection of K and 30th, and then working a little bit to the east, putting in that other duct bank that was shown on the previous slide. So we will probably be there through about as that other slide said, to about the end of the year, putting in the duct banks.
So, John, what is duct bank work actually like? Just briefly, if you can.
Oh, that's just
entailed?
the conduit tubes that are installed in the ground through which the power conductors run. So there won't be any overhead power lines like we're used to seeing when we were kids. Power lines are now all buried. So this is just the tubes that are put in the ground to carry the power conductors.
Great, thank you. Matt, can you go over the maintenance of traffic for this work area on 30th Street?
Yeah, thank you, Andy.
Thanks.
On 30th Street southbound, we'll have a single lane. It's just as a normal towards K Street. The travel lane will be shifted to the west side of the roadway so the work can be conducted on the east side. And from
I'm sorry.
And just be careful. From time to time, you'll see flaggers out there helping to assist with traffic flow through the area. So please just be cautious of them and follow their instructions, please. The bicycle lanes will stay open on K Street as they end here at 30th Street. And pedestrian detours, mainly all the crosswalks, will remain open here at this intersection, and just the east side is impacted for the sidewalk along 30th Street itself. And then there are parking restrictions along 30th Street during the time of this, during phase 1 construction for the duct bank.
Thank you, Matt.
Next
Phase
slide.
2, as you can see, is a little bit of a different area after 30th Street is complete. And once again, it's the beginning of, if you remember the map we saw earlier, of the length that will go down, the work that will go down K Street. Matt, do you want to review that? There's not much new work, that's construction that's going on, so we don't need John, but very similar work. But Matt, do you want to go over the
Yeah.
maintenance of
Briefly,
traffic? Thanks.
The work will mainly be over towards the southeast quadrant of the roadway for this, during this time. And so the one thing that's important here is through this intersection, K Street will be being reduced down both directions as you go westbound from 29th to 30th to 1 lane and be 1 lane through the intersection and then open back up to 2 lanes. And the same in the opposite direction from Thomas Jefferson to 30th Street, it'll be reduced from 2 to 1. You'll follow 1 lane through the intersection and then it'll open back up to 2 lanes by 29th Street. There's no changes. There's no work on 30th Street, so it'll stay in the same pattern as it is. And flaggers will be present to control traffic through the intersection as needed. The bicycle lanes will remain open. As I said, the bicycle lanes are from the west to 30th Street, so they'll remain open through this point. There will be the crosswalk on the east side of 30th Street will be closed, but please just use the west side, north side, south side crosswalks. And parking on 30th Street will reopen, so you can park along the street, both sides of the street during that time.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, CSO 27. We heard that there is work already being done for CSO 25, 26. In this case of Potomac River Tunnel Advanced Utility Construction, 27, which is also the same area of Water Street. And that work is scheduled between November and February. That work is not begun yet. When it does begun, we will inform you of how the MOT will be set up and how it will look, because there is also some work that will be occurring with the 25, 26. So there'll be work that will be done together at that area. Oh, I'm sorry. Gary, is there anything you want to add to that with regards to the combination of work?
Nope, I think you covered it. We'll try
All right, thank you.
We'll try to condense it and make it as efficient as possible, since both contracts are in the same area.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we're here at that's basically the presentation for this evening. We will now open it up to questions. Monica has raised her hand. Monica, if you want to turn on your unmute yourself and ask your question, and we'll get one of the team to answer.
Thank you. First of all, I want to acknowledge all of the cyclists who are working service jobs or busy with childcare in the evening and can't attend. The late start to this meeting was also not ideal use of anyone's time. I'm just really disappointed with the work that's been done so far, and I anticipate future disappointment, because we're forcing pedestrians to share space with cyclists where they didn't before, and there's still car space that could have been removed. You know, you could remove more car space so that pedestrians and cyclists don't need to share space. There's entirely not enough signage for the cyclists and for the pedestrians. The pedestrians need to be warned that they're going to be sharing space with cyclists. I want to note that Matt Woniak introduced himself as being from a traffic, pedestrian, and bicyclist standpoint, which is the wrong order. Pedestrians are first, bicycles, and then car traffic. Bicycles are also traffic. So if you're going to say traffic and you're talking about cars, you need to specify. This bike lane was paved with cyclist blood. No one died to make a bike. No one died to make a parking spot. You know, I live in Ward 3 and I bike through this bike lane to get to the city because I can't bike on M Street. I can't bike on Reservoir Road and Q Street and R Street because of drivers. This is a protected bike lane that I rely on to get where I'm going, because I've been hit by drivers while stopped at a stop sign from behind. I need space away from drivers, and all of this is very disappointing. Y'all could be doing much better. You know, you're following the letter of the law for safe accommodations, but you're not following the spirit. And you know what really poisons rivers is oil runoff and tire plastic. So anything to make it more inconvenient for people in mobile living rooms should be prioritized. And I do ask questions. And number one, has anyone at DC Water taken a friend or child on a bike ride through this detour? And why do the car detours go away at night, but the bicycle detours do not go away at night? That's not acceptable. Thank you.
Yeah, Monica, I work for DC Water and I've biked the bike lane down Water Street numerous times. That is my project. I've gone by there with my wife. So I appreciate your concern. And I know Matt heard what you said and we'll be cognizant of it. But I have passed, I've used that bike lane a lot.
It was paved with blood. Cyclists had to die to get that bike lane.
And I just want to add that we do, work with WAVA when we can and as much as possible, keep them informed. And when they have comments like yourselves for suggested changes or to make things easier for folks and safer, we adjust. We did that a few, I think it was a week or so ago. Where we had they found some difficulties in our detours for people entering and exiting, and we made move some large planters and other things to open up the area so people had easier access. So, we do keep in touch with them as an organization. We hear you, and we know that they're an organization. We work with them as closely as we can, and adjust when they ask for changes.
Yeah, throughout all the development of the plans, we very much are very concerned with the pedestrians, the bicyclists. I mean, we work very closely with DDOT. We work with their bicycle specialist, and to make sure they review the plans, to make sure they feel they are comfortable with them. And that was the case on this project. And we will go and continue to look and try to make things better out there. And we have been. Trying to take this into consideration. I don't want to underestimate how important it is, the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists to us. I know I've been out there numerous times and just tried to make some adjustments to things to make it a little bit easier for the bicyclist. But I will be out there again and try to help the situation, anything more that I can do.
And this is Gary Brennan from DC Water. And so, DC Water is committed to that. I can attest that Matt comes out because we actually pay for his time to come out and do this. So we're happy that he's able to come out. And like he said, he has been out many times over consecutive MOT changes. He walks the site. He's very conscious, and he immediately when he sees a signage problem or a bicyclist problem, he gets it. He gets the team together and we get it resolved. A good example is there were some planters that were blocking one of the detour paths, and it was not but maybe a day when we got mobilized and got those planters moved out of the way. So Matt is very active, very proactive, and DC Water supports that, and we will continue to do that. Thank you.
Project manager on the utility side is Mike Fingland. Hey, Mike, I see you're on. Would you mind introducing yourself and telling us your experience with bikes and biking in this area? I know that's near and dear to your heart. But maybe Mike's logged on, but he's not listening. But Mike is an avid bike rider. And oh, there he is, Mike. I see your microphone went off, but I wanted you to weigh in on your concern and your dedication to ensuring that that we can address bike issues. Well, maybe his microphone isn't working.
Yeah, I can't see if I can, I can't turn his mic on from my side, this Andy.
Well, I want Mike to weigh in because I know he's taken trips himself on the CNO Canal and has done some large runs on the towpath. I've seen him on his bike himself down there, and I just know that he's a real supporter of the bike community and is also our project manager building the utility conduits. So he knows how important it is to balance and getting this job done, but getting the job done right also, and making sure that we have the correct accommodations in place.
Mhm. Thank you, John. Is there another question? Nope. Let me see what we have here. See, I have a question in chat. Oh, I think it was Monica's question. You also sent it in chat. Thank you. I don't have another one.
Yeah, I sent it in the chat after it wasn't answered by everyone speaking.
I think,
Why?
Monica, I think,
Go away at night, but the bicycle detour does not go away. If you're going to restore full access to the drivers, you need to restore full access to the cyclists.
mhm.
That is actually a great point, and Matt, we're going to look into that and see if there's a possibility of doing exactly what Monica has suggested, which would be to restore the bicycle lanes during the time when we're not diverting the traffic. So I'll be calling you about that tomorrow. So our answer to the question is we'll look into it, and Monica we'll get back to you directly once we find out a path forward on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Any other questions? I don't see any popping up here. Let's see. Well, if there are no more questions, I want to thank everybody for their participation tonight. We appreciate it, and please contact us at this information when you can. Oops. There we go. Get that information for both. So you have both the projects there. Contact us whichever project you're most interested in, or as we saw already in Georgetown, both projects are working. So if we don't have your email, please send it on to us so that we can make sure you get all notices. And we're available for calls and emails, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So I want to thank everybody again, and I hope everyone has a good evening. And we'll have another one of these meetings in a few months. And we also, to let folks know, we also report to the ANC and update the local ANC Commissioner, Ms. Palmer, on a regular basis. She does update also the commissioners, and we do make presentations to the ANC Commission. And we're also working with the Georgetown bid. We should have a presentation to them shortly. And like I already mentioned, we also work with the Washington Area Bicycle Association, WABA, on those types of issues also. We may be making a presentation to them as well. So once again, thank you very much, and please stay in touch. And we'll speak with you everyone soon. Thank you.